John Doyle from OptixEQ, and this is the final leg of the early pick four from Aqueduct, December the 16th, race 5. And it's a tricky one. These non-two lifetimes always are. And what I hate about them is they can chalk out even though you're spreading. So that might be the case here. When I look at the plot, it looks like a very contentious early pace, especially with the 157 or need to lead horses. So that really compromises things. The 4 has got a red because he runs his best races close up, but he is, plotting in quadrant 4. I'm going to take a little closer look at him because he also had a better than looked effort last time in kickback. So that's a horse I want to evaluate. Just on first blush, the 2 looks to sit a pretty good trip. Big square in quadrant 1, off the pace. Also the 11, who's going to be a dropper here. He's dropping from the 40,000 onwards to a lifetime. So those are obvious contenders, but you could go pretty deep in here. And I'm going to make the case. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 4 because of the better than look effort. And then I'm going to talk about another horse that I think you're going to have to include and might be a good price, the number 6, Eucharist. So let's start with the 4. This horse got a better than looked effort and kicked back the last time when he broke slow out of the gate. Kind of was compromised after that because it looks like he wants to run close to the pace. So he just has these events sometimes, I guess. And he was turfing. He initially started his career on dirt and looked like he was doing okay. Then he had a bad start, and then all of a sudden they dropped him and put him in races going long. And, he really never improved much. They put him back on dirt, dropped him. He had traffic in that race, and that was the same race that the six was in. He ran okay, and then they bumped him up and let him go long. He kind of prompted the pace a little bit there. He was on the pace, and then they backed off. So the last race, he had the issue that we talked about. Maybe if he gets a clean break, he's closer to the pace. I don't know. It doesn't look like he plots that way, so that's a negative, especially with how fast this pace is supposed to be. So mixed bag on here. I would include this horse, though, in my backup tickets, but I'm a little mixed on him. The one I think you have to include as a key with some of the others in here is the number 6, Eucharist. I think this horse is sneaky. Won his debut at Keeneland. That's usually pretty good. Got a perfect trip, but that's usually pretty good. Then comes back versus when it's going long at Keeneland, and he couldn't keep up. So the projection was there to go shorter. They turned him back to 7 furlongs against some pretty nice horses. It's a strong race. You can see he was slow out of the gate and just never did much running off a 232-day layoff. So just notice that the 2-year-old races, again, 80 and 75 horses, a 2-year-old. So that's what these horses in this field are running. So I mean, just think of this horse with some improvement. You think he could run even faster than that. But he's had some issues. 232-day layoff. Then he comes back, and they drop him in a reasonable race. It was at Saratoga, so those races are pretty good. He couldn't keep up with the pace there. He ran a 75. Then they put him on turf. Don't know. I guess they were just trying stuff. And the note there was no keep, sprinter, drop him. And they did. And it looked like he was in a pretty good spot on the 21st. And that was a race where he was bet 5-2. And he was in there with a couple of horses that are in this race, including the number 4 that we talked about. And basically, you got the old kickback, and he was on the turn. He just was getting then he moved him outside, but he was getting dirty. He really wasn't reacting well to it all. It just took him off his race. And then he comes back in his Aqueduct race, and he runs kind of a 6th. And you say, well, that was off a layoff. That was off a trainer change. Okay. And if you look at that race, let's look at that race and let's see how it came back. And you'll notice that the horses coming back out of that race did pretty well the next time. So maybe that race was a little bit under the radar, and maybe that figure is a little bit deflated. So let's look at 2021. I'm looking for all horses that came back and run since. And you see that one is one run third, one run fourth, and they're all in different races. So that's kind of a good thing. Let's look at greater than equal to. So Mucho Sunrise came back, improved by 8 points, even though he ran a C, and he improved his finish position going longer. Magnificent Chrome improved by 13 points, dueling against the flow, showed grit. And then the 9, Papa Smooth, came back and won, improved by 10 points. So a lot of improvement out of that race. So we can project similar improvement with this horse. I think if he can get even close back to his 2-year-old numbers, makes him a contender. And if he can go forward from that, who knows? Second time with the new trainer. I think it's a horse worth kind of playing here, or at least including in the pick fours. And he should be a very good, strong price in a race that's really wide open. I would spread deep in here. Again, 2 and 11 are logical, but this horse is an obvious horse that could win it at a nice price. So I include him among my A's in race 5 at Aqueduct on Thursday, December the 16th. Again, this was the end of the series for the pick four, early pick four on Aqueduct. If you want any more information about us, go to OptixEQ.com. I'm John Doyle. Thanks for listening.